Welcome. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have on the agenda is the assignment for request for council action. Several for the Finance, 2594 budget amendments, 2595 fiscal year 25 CDBG allocation grant, 2596 Southtown streetscape improvements, 2597 amend code 13301 association memberships for service, 2598 waterline easement South Court water main loop, 2599 access and landscape easement for South Court water tower site, 25100 fair market value estimates for Prospect Street Bridge, 25101 expenditure for HSH construction and excavating, 25102 First Energy utility easement, 25103 construction agreement High Point Drive widening, 25104 expenditure for health and fitness, 25105 American Dream video release MCRC, and 25106 MMHA lease 135 North Elmwood. First item we have is 2594 budget amendments. We have one for the parks, 2025 16.
This is just a pass-through. I know you would talk about it.
This is just a pass-through, like Keith said, for a revenue share that we have with a ice cream vendor out of Fred Greenwood Park.
Cool. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2595 fiscal year 25 CDBG allocation grant. Andrew?
Thank you. This is our biannual CDBG Community Development Block Grant request for application and award. This year will be $150,000, which is the same as the last time around. We held a public hearing on March 12th to explain the program and solicit projects, and then again on April 23rd to announce the selection. So this year it's the same as the last round, the two projects we've selected. The first is Medina County Public Transit for their general operating costs, which the city generally contributes $15,000 that as well. And the second would be City of Medina Code Enforcement in low to moderate income areas. So that's $75,000 for the transit and $45,000 for the code enforcement. And the rest will be composed of fair housing and administrative services. The emergency clause is requested as the application is due on June 11th, and we'll need council action before that. Thank you.
Any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have is 2596 Southtown streetscape improvements. Andrew?
So in 2023, Main Street Medina commissioned the Southtown District Plan. This identified numerous aesthetic and placemaking improvements to Southtown, which is generally the area south of Smith, north of Lafayette, west of Broadway, and east of Huntington, with some exceptions there. The plan called for a number of features, including improvements to South Court Street. Using the plan's direction, Main Street Medina secured $62,000 in grant funding to install a gateway feature and street elements on South Court Street and Southtown. So you have there in your packet, the proposal is to install a 20-foot illuminated gateway entrance pillar at South Court and Smith, 15-foot tall pillars at South Court and Lafayette, and 16 flower pots or shrub tubs, as they're called, in the tree lawn on South Court Street. So all the elements will be what's known as Corten steel. So this is has like a rust look to it, kind of a patina, but when exposed to the elements, after about a year or so, it gets that darker color and it stays that way, and it provides some level of protection for the items too. It was recently used in Cleveland's Public Square in Tower City, so if you're ever around there or you're on Google Street View, you can see it there. So this is a request to accept the elements along South Court Street. The installation of the pillars will require some assistance from city staff, and the shrub tubs or the flower pots will be maintained in place. They won't need to be moved in and out. We also have George and Manfred here from Main Street if you have any questions for them or if they'd like to add anything additionally. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess the only question I would have is the involvement of the businesses down there, and, you know, what do they anticipate, or, you know, are they excited, or do you have any update for that? Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, so regarding the Southtown plan, originally, they were all involved in the process of coming up with a plan and approving the plan. They've been part of the design process. So the stakeholders down there, both business owners and property owners, have seen a lot of this stuff, and they kind of like the style. The style is supposed to be more of a rough industrial look than the square's pristine Victorian look. So they've kind of adopted the look of it. Now it's kind of like putting the elements together that make Southtown what the vision is. So it's kind of putting those elements in place on Court Street and then hopefully someday repeating it on Broadway Street, Elmwood, and Huntington. So yeah, I can, say with some certainty that they've all seen it and they all kind of approve of the look and style.
And the timing again for completion?
So the grant ends next June, but we plan on having these things ordered. I think they come in July. The installation will happen in the fall.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman? Thank you. George, thanks for doing this. It's looking good. Couple of real quick questions. Exactly where's the funding, the grant coming from?
So that was the funding, OTCIF funding from the state.
Acronym check. What
Yes,
OTC
Roman check.
What's
Yeah.
that mean?
So it's state leftover funds from ARPA last year.
Okay.
So we applied on, I think, in cooperation with Roman Chuck's office. So it was money that was approved along with the facade program. We got $150,000 approved for that too. So you'll be hearing more about the facade program coming up. It's already funding that is in place. We do have the money. For us, it's just a matter of installation since it goes on the streetscape. Rather than us go to the additional level of hiring to have that stuff installed, we were wondering if the city, I guess it would be the streets department and engineering department that would install those pieces.
Okay, thank you. And the archway, it's not going in, correct?
Yeah, the archway is not something that was suggested because it's a state route and you have clearance issues and, yeah, the pillars work much better.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Kimberly?
So that grant funding is the one-time community improvement program funding that came from the state of Ohio. So George, I will say, has taken the grant application process to the next level where he's reached out and met with the legislators in Columbus to obtain this funding. So if they don't execute on the grant application or on the grant project, that would look bad for us as well, so.
Any other questions?
I do have a comment about long-term maintenance. Installations, what we really need help with. Long-term maintenance, I think we're looking at a public-private partnership to try to get planters planted with nice flowers and plants and those maintained throughout the year with volunteers.
All right.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carries, thank you. Next item we have is 2597, amend Code 13301, Association memberships for the service. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a national cooperative purchasing program, similar to what we use with ODOT on state purchasing. Sourcewell's national. This is national. We're not asking to buy anything. It just gives us the opportunity for better pricing and to be a participating member. HGAC by Cooperative is the name of it, and Mr. Rose's point, the acronym is Houston Galveston Area Council. That's the HGAC.
That's in Texas, isn't it?
So we're asking for participation to be a member, and all their pricing has come through virtue of public competitive procurement process compliant with all state statutes.
All right, questions?
Did you find out some other city that was using it, or how did this come about?
So John Leneker was talking to a vendor with respect to the garbage trucks and the panels and the increased costs. And that came up in conversation because there's a lot of bigger, heavy truck equipment and replacement pieces that are involved with this HGAC buy. So that's why we're looking at it, just for pricing.
That's great. Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have is 2598, water line easement, South Court Water Main Loop. Patrick?
Thank you. This is the easement, council might remember you authorized a bid for the South Court Water Main project, which loops our water main from High Point Drive north to the water tower. That project has been bid and awarded, and we need this easement in place in order for us to start construction on it. The easement will come from Albrecht, and Joe from Albrecht is here if you have any questions. Reason for the easement is the water line, after doing the survey and design process, by far the best location for this water main was actually behind what will be the new Chipotle and Starbucks. So it kind of crosses in the parking lot area of the new Acme store. Reason being, there's so many other easements and utilities in the way as you got closer to Route 3, so this makes it a pretty simple installation.
Emergency clause.
Emergency clause?
Emergency clause because we have already awarded our bid, and we'd like to get this done before Acme opens in July.
Okay. There's just one thing, before you sign it, there's this one typo I see. The definition of lay-down area, it says lay-down area, so you might just want to put an A in there, just so when you record it, it looks good.
It's French.
Correct.
French, yeah.
Other than that, I don't have anything else. Anybody else have any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, 2599, access and landscape easement at South Court Street Water Tower Site.
Okay, same commercial development, the Acme site. Albrecht would like to install a driveway onto State Route 3. They have gotten approval with some conditions from ODOT to do that. The site where the curb cut, so to speak, the tie into State Route 3 covers a portion of that water tower property. So they're asking for an easement from the city to allow them to construct their driveway in the northern part of our property. We've gone back and forth with the EPA and our water department, and we really don't feel this impacts our site at all. We need to figure out a way to drain the water tower. We have to drain it about every 5 years for inspection. And we did come up with a design that I think we're both amenable to, and that's part of the easement there.
Thinking, I forgot to ask on the last one, this one, well, Mr. Huber, maybe Matt, you may or may not know, I assume you reviewed these easements and we're all good from a city's perspective?
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, reviewed from the law department on the easements?
Yes, yeah, he has been involved, but
Has he?
that'd
Okay.
probably be good if there's something else that comes up.
Yeah, Mr. Huber and legal counsel for Albrecht both worked on this.
Okay.
And then Greg just directed Pat to put the actual words to the concept that they both agreed to. And I just remind council for this driveway, this is to permit a right turn in and a right turn out only, not a full service driveway. That was all we could get approved through ODOT. And the other thing is it will service not only the Starbucks, Chipotle, and Acme, but the future north wing to provide ingress and egress to the entire facility once completed.
Questions?
One more thing. As you can see, I did not request the emergency clause for this, but I think Albrecht would like to have this passed as an emergency. Did you want to speak to that, Joe? or- Right here.
Thank you. We're requesting an emergency for this access and landscaping easement because it works in conjunction with the item number 10 on the agenda, which is the First Energy utility easement. I think all parties involved would like to see the First Energy utility easement be passed with an emergency clause so that work can begin on the relocation of those utility poles as soon as possible. In order for us as a developer to authorize First Energy to begin work on the utility pole relocation, we would need to have a guarantee of sorts that the access and landscaping easement is guaranteed to us. And one detail here Albrecht is paying for First Energy to relocate the utility poles as part of this First Energy utility easement. And we aren't authorized to release First Energy to begin the work until we have the easement for the access and landscaping. And First Energy won't start either until they have payment. So that's the
Go figure,
main
huh?
thing.
Yep, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 25-100, fair market value estimates for the Prospect Street Bridge. Patrick?
Thank you. We've had several of these lately, but we are going to be replacing the Prospect Street Bridge. And to do that, we need to acquire 4 temporary easements. They're not very costly, but we need council's authorization for our right-of-way consultant to make these offers to those 4 property owners.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 25-101, expenditure for HSH construction and excavating. Who's going to talk about this? Patrick? is that
It's
you?
me, yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Pat, the one before that for the easement, you asked for the emergency clause, but didn't mention the emergency clause.
We'd like to, get the process rolling as soon as possible.
The bridge.
Yeah, the bridge, yeah.
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 We
Why
did
do we
not
under-
pass it with the emergency clause.
Yeah,
My motion
I
included.
missed
the-
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patrick always needs an emergency.
Yeah. I had it on my notes if you needed it,
Okay,
so.
sorry.
Not on this one. Go ahead with this one.
Yes.
The city and the county several years ago, 2021, entered an agreement to split the cost. This has to do with, we transferred water services to them in Burgundy Bay and other areas because we wanted to abandon our old water line that ran through Lake Medina, which was nothing but a nuisance and, potential repair problem for us. There were several projects that needed to happen. We're down to the last one. HSH has submitted a proposal for $30,400. I'd like to move forward with it. The reminder that we will be billing the county for half of this when it's done.
And this is coming out of the 108, is that right?
Yes.
Great. Questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 25-102, First Energy Utility Easement. Patrick, you're still on.
I know. This is, as Joe was mentioning before, for Albrecht to widen State Route 3 to add that D-cell lane. There's some power poles out there that need to be moved. One of those poles is right now in front of, or will be right on our water tower property. We've met them out there and staked it. We don't see any issues with it at all. This easement will be the city granting it to First Energy. The easement that I submitted was something that Joe's attorney put together. First Energy got back to us late last week. They have their own standard easement agreement, which I gave a copy to Teresa, but that would be the one that we want to pass with the ordinance.
Any questions on that?
Did Mr. Huber or Mr. Lanier look at it?
Greg looked at it this afternoon, and this one, as Joe mentioned before, we would like to ask for the emergency clause as well.
Okay, they looked at it. What did they say about it?
He looked at it, didn't offer any comment.
This is the First Energy one, though.
Correct, yeah.
This is their stamp.
Yeah, we're not,
So-
we're not- you can't, we're not involved in that. But
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
But I'd have to abstain also on that point because I think our law firm still represents First Energy on other things, but I don't know. So I'll just stay out of it, I guess. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Aye. Okay. 25-103, construction agreement for High Point Drive widening. Patrick, you're still going.
Yeah, this is it. Albrecht, as part of their approval for the site plan, is required to widen High Point Drive to put in a right turn lane, kind of between South Court and their parking lot. This will become a city improvement. In other words, we will obtain ownership and maintenance responsibility when we're done. We've always we're required when we do a subdivision, enter into a construction agreement where the developer is basically pledging to install it per our standards. We inspect those, of course, and then when it's done, we take ownership, so to speak. So this is what that agreement is for here. Different from the subdivision agreement is that, you know, we're not doing sewer and water or lights, there's already there. This is just the sidewalk and the pavement widening, some storm sewer.
And Mr. Huber went through this agreement already?
He did.
Well, the only thing I would update was the notary clauses, as we talked about before. 'Cause these are
Oh,
the-
okay.
These are the old ones.
We'll let him know.
Is there any other questions on that?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-104, expenditure for health and fitness equipment for the MCRC. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to purchase 3 new Precor adaptive motion trainers through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program for the rec center. We have $35,000 budgeted for fitness equipment, and the staff has identified the need to replace 3 units that have been in service since 2015, one of which is in beyond repair. These units are used a lot for therapy and different types of exercises where people are wanting to have essentially, you know, their all their extremities moving with together, walking, running, climbing, those types of things. So all 4 arms and legs are moving. Very in high demand, and we're going to upgrade the units by purchasing consoles with them, which basically are computer screens, so you can integrate and have entertainment while you're on it, much like we've done with our treadmills.
Questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 25-105, American Dream video release. Jansen?
Thank you. Back in March, we had a rec center advisory committee meeting, and our chair of the committee had mentioned to everyone that was there about his neighbor who films for the American Dream Media and Tech Holdings Company. He connected us with the individual who resides in Medina. What this is, it's a nationally streaming TV show with over 20 million viewers, and it's hosted by realtors in order to highlight things in their communities. So we felt this was a good opportunity. It's no cost to the city to help showcase our facility. They would come in, interview our staff, take a bunch of B-roll inside, and then send it out to be edited and uploaded onto their website and the various different streaming services. We're provided with a copy of the video, and we can use it however we choose for marketing the rec center. We originally took this request to Board of Control, but Mr. Huber felt after reviewing the document that it was would be best to get it in front of you for the additional exposure and I guess marketing of the rec center to a broader audience.
Questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
I'm sorry, you needed the emergency clause too?
I'm not exactly sure if I need the emergency clause, to be honest with you. It's just approval of this agreement here. The filming is scheduled in May. So if there's going to be an ordinance that comes out of this, then yes, I would need the emergency clause, but initially this went to Board of Control.
Or you need to have somebody sign the agreement too.
Correct.
So I would imagine we better do it.
They're going to film it in May.
Yeah.
Right, move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 25-106, the MMHA lease at 135 North Ormwood. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this has been a work in process for a while. Mr. Huber's been working with Skip and Mr. Larrabee representing the MMHA. What is presented is a 3-year agreement upon the current Medina Municipal Court staff moving over to the 1969 courthouse, or within a short period of time thereafter. Our problem is we don't know the exact date of that. We expect it's going to be in the spring of 2026, but rather than put an exact date, it's within a so many days of the courthouse staff vacating. We also talked with Mr. Huber about having the potential for 2 one-year extensions, and his preference with a number of us leaving and retiring, including Skip from a paper a few days ago, that be reviewed as it approaches the termination of the lease. If the city has interest in the building at that point, or if the city doesn't and want to continue it, whether it be month to month or year at a time, we would still have the opportunity. And then the last thing I would mention is Mr. Huber requested that this be passed by the Finance Committee with the law director's approval, just in case sometime between now and the council meeting in 2 weeks, if one word has to be changed or one number has to be changed, rather than having to come back at finance and start all over again, he would make that change, provided it's agreeable to both parties, and then would share that change with the council at the council meeting, but not have to go back through finance again.
Okay. Questions?
I'll make a motion then to approve the Medina Metropolitan Housing Association lease for 135 North Elmwood, subject to final approval of the law director.
Second.
Skip, you have anything you want to add?
Hurry up.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, anything else to come before finance before we entertain a motion to recess into executive session?
Mr. Coyne,
Yes, Keith.
you wanted me to address the bans as we talked about earlier.
Yes.
We don't have the ordinance for the bond anticipation notes yet. The bond council is working on that. I just wanted to bring it up here because when we do have the ordinance, we've already talked about the concept, what we're going to be doing. The ordinance is just the formalities, so I'm hoping to go straight from finance to council once we have it. If you have any questions or any objections, I'm, available for those now.
Yeah,
We're just waiting on
because
the formality of
That's
the
going to be on the
ordinance.
agenda this evening, the third portion of the court approval, so everybody understand what Keith was talking about? We talked about that before, about the bond anticipation notes being approved, so that's part of it, but we don't have the information yet. So probably next council meeting we'll have that.
Yeah, I expect to. I was hoping to have them for this meeting, but it wasn't in time to get on the agenda, so we'll get it for the next one. I just wanted to make sure everybody was.
Okay, yep, all right.
Okay, I'll make a motion at 6:28 PM for council to go into executive session for conferences with the attorney of the city concerning disputes involving the city that are subject to pending or imminent court action, to include the mayor and Mr. Lanier.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Shields,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
DeSalvo,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll recess into executive session to discuss the items mentioned by Mr. Shields. We'll return and adjourn from finance and go to council with no action being taken on any item discussed in executive session. We are in recess.